Allahu Akbar, Allah.
ईद मुबारक टू एवरीवन।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। ईद मुबारक मेरी तरफ से और उस्मान भाई की तरफ से तमाम मुसलमानों को
और हमारे तमाम बहन भाइयों को जो है ईद मुबारक। आज ईद उल अजहा का दिन है और मौसम जो है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा अच्छा है। थोड़ी देर बाद मुझे लगता है कि बारिश जो है ना वो होगी। और अभी हम जा रहे हैं जी कुर्बानी के लिए। वहाँ पे हमने बकरा लिया हुआ है, वहाँ पे जाके आपको साथ दिखाते हैं कुर्बानी भी। और आज का दिन बहुत ज़्यादा बिजी होने वाला है।
अच्छा, बाकी पूरा हफ्ता ना बारिश नहीं हुई। आज ईद वाले दिन हमेशा मतलब यही होता है, अब ईद वाले दिन 70% आज बारिश है।
तो अभी हम जा रहे हैं जी कुर्बानी करने, वो भी आपको सारा दिखाते हैं और उसके बाद गोश्त करवाएंगे। बहुत बिजी दिन है आज, तो इंशाल्लाह वहाँ पहुँच के आपको जो है मिलते हैं।
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت وإلى السماء كيف رفعت وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم ثم إن علينا حسابهم الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله أكبر
الله أكبر
الله أكبر
الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله is that there's a certain level of seriousness, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, if you knew what I knew, right, يَلِحَقُكَ قَلِيلًا وَلْيَبْكُ كَثِيرًا, you would have laughed less and cried more, because it's not a joke. The hereafter was in front of him. And the second aspect of this flies in the face of what we see of all the other celebrations we have. Because we said, what did we say? That people celebrate something after they get something. But in Islam, look at the two celebrations, what do they follow? They don't follow us getting something, they follow us after we gave something up. You give up eating, you give up drinking, you give up intimate relationships, the things which are most seminal, most central to the essence of a human being, and you do that for 30 days, and then you celebrate. Right? You spend 10 days, you cannot cut your hair, you cannot cut your nails, you are sacrificing an animal. Again, giving something up in these days, and after that, it's followed by sacrifice. And the subtle message here is that when you sacrifice, or when a person sacrifices, they become something that is worthy of celebration. When you give something up, that is what is worth celebrating. Because heroes are not made in armchairs. They are made in the battlefield. And saints are not made in monasteries, but they are made in the crucible of trial. That is what history will bear truth to. And if you look at any of the Anbiya, right, what was their life except for trial? Nuh alayhi salam, 950 years of da'wah. It's not a joke. If you're Musa alayhi salam, you're on the run as a fugitive, being hunted down by the Pharaoh's army. It's not a joke. If you're Yusuf alayhi salam, you had a murder attempt on your own life by your own brothers that you trusted. Thrown in a well all alone. You don't know if there'll be a tomorrow in the darkness of a well. It's not a joke. He was imprisoned by a judiciary that was leaned against him, wrongfully imprisoned and completely forgotten for years. It was not a joke. There are so many of the prophets that gave their very lives. الذين يقتلون الناس ويأمرون الناس بالقسط من الناس فبشرهم بعذاب أليم. The Bani Israel, they actually used to kill the prophets. And you could say that that is a great sacrifice to give your life for the sake of Allah. But perhaps sometimes what is an even greater sacrifice is to live for Allah. Because when you live on the deen, or you live for the deen, every day you will have to die multiple deaths. And it doesn't stop until you breathe your last. And then death becomes raha from the sacrifices and the trials and the tribulations of life. And you look at the life of the Prophet ﷺ from beginning to end. And what did you see except for trial? What did you see except for suffering? He lost his mother before, he lost his father before he never had someone that he could call dad. Ever. His mother died when he was a child of 6 years old. His grandfather, who took care of him and used to keep him with him at the shade of the Kaaba, he passed away when he was at the age of 8. His uncle, who took care of after them, he lost him in the Am al-Huzn. His wife, who was his, he was his oxygen, who was his support when there was no one else to support him. He lost his wife of 15 years. He lost her while he was alive, and everyone except for one of his children died in his own lifetime. He buried his own children with his hands. He was maligned. There was assassination attempts. He was betrayed. He was physically hurt. Right? He was bribed. You think about the trial that a person can go through in life. He gave his heart to his enemies, and they chopped it up and gave it back to him in his hands. Right? It reminds me of one of my teachers. He says, I carry scars underneath these ribs. You just can't see them. أشد الناس بلاء الأنبياء ثم الأمثل ثم الأمثل. And that is why the people with the worst type of suffering, right, the most severe sufferings are the Anbiya. And after them, whoever is most like them, and after them, who is most like them. And you will see this from the very beginning of Islam, a Sahabiya coming and bringing her son or her child to the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, take him in jihad. And he says, what am I going to do with the child? He said, if an arrow comes to hit you, then you can hold the baby and use them as a shield. Huzayf ibn Juhaym, when he was on the battlefield in Yarmouk and his cousin was dying, and he brought a little bit of water and he heard a groan, and he said, give it to my brother. And there was another groan, and he said, give it to my brother. And there was another groan, and he said, give it to my brother. And then that person passed away, and then the first person passed away, and the other one passed away. It was sacrifice after sacrifice. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, with the Prophet ﷺ in the cave of Thawr. Right, the Prophet ﷺ's blessed head in the lap of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. And he had gone into the cave first to plug all the holes, lest there be a snake. Right, this is Imam Alusi narrates, I think, in Ruhul Ma'ani. And there was one hole that he couldn't plug because he didn't have cloth. So he put his toe into that hole so that no snake or scorpion or something like that comes out to bother the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ was resting. And in that hole came a mudhi animal, right, a harmful animal, and it started biting his toe. And he wouldn't let his thigh move because he didn't want to wake the Prophet. Until the tears started to roll down his eyes, and they fell on the cheek of the Prophet ﷺ, and he awoke, and then he found out what was going on. It's a history of sacrifice. There was, akhirah, by entering us into Jannah without hisab. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Eid
Smells like chicken.